Long ago, our blue Earth experienced times when the world was wrapped in a thick, cold blanket of ice. Imagine a world locked in a deep freeze, where towering sheets of ice stretched across the land and the air bit with a bitter chill. This was the Earth during the Ice Age, a time that began about 2.6 million years ago and lasted until around 11,700 years ago. The planet was colder than we can easily picture, with massive glaciers covering huge parts of North America, Europe, and Asia. So much water was frozen in these icy giants that the seas dropped, sometimes by as much as 400 feet, revealing land that's hidden underwater today. These were not just brief spells of cold, they lasted for hundreds, sometimes thousands of years, changing the face of the Earth in ways we are still discovering. Picture a world so frozen that the ground itself turned to ice, and life had to adapt to survive in such a harsh environment.
During one of these long winters, a group of early humans lived in caves, far to the east in what's now Siberia, Russia. Wrapped in thick furs, their breath fogging in the frigid air, they moved together in small groups, always on the lookout for food and shelter. They hunted in packs, venturing into the icy wilderness where danger lurked behind every snow-covered hill and frozen river. These weren't just any hunters. They were experts at surviving in a harsh, icy world, tracking giant animals like mammoths, woolly rhinos, and bison across the tundra with sharp stone spears. Food was their lifeline, and they followed the herds wherever they roamed, carrying with them knowledge and skills passed down through generations, a heritage that would soon set the stage for an extraordinary journey. About 20,000 to 25,000 years ago, something incredible happened. A hunting party from these cold Siberian lands set out in search of prey, roaming across the frozen tundra until they wandered onto an unexpected path. They didn't know it, but this path, formed by nature itself, was a temporary passage between two enormous continents. The Ice Age had forced the seas to freeze and drop so low that land bridges emerged where there had once been only water. One of these was the Bering Land Bridge, or Beringia, a vast plain, hundreds of miles wide, stretching between Asia and North America, covered in grasses and teeming with animals. To those hunters, it didn't look like a bridge to a new world. It just looked like more hunting ground.
So one day, perhaps after a long hunt, some of these Siberian people started moving east. They weren't explorers with a grand plan to discover new continents. They were families, chasing food, following the tracks of a mammoth herd. Step by step, their feet crunched on frozen ground as they crossed Beringia, leaving Asia behind and stepping into what we now call Alaska without even realizing it. To them, it was all the same icy landscape, just more land to live on. This wasn't a quick trip. It likely took generations. As one family moved a little farther east, the children grew up and pushed a bit farther still, building temporary camps, hunting, and adapting to whatever the land threw at them. This accidental discovery changed everything, as these travelers, driven by the need to survive and the instinct to explore, carried their tools, genes, and traditions into a vast, uncharted expanse.
The journey itself was slow and deliberate, spanning thousands of years as they explored valleys, navigated mountains, and learned the rhythms of this new land, its seasons and its creatures. As time passed, they spread deeper into North America, some heading south, others fanning out across the plains, leaving behind signs of their passage in small settlements, simple tools, and ancient art on cave walls. Then, around 11,000 years ago, the Earth began to shift. The last ice age loosened its grip, the climate warmed, and those enormous enormous ice sheets started to melt, water poured back into the oceans, sea levels rose, and the Bering Land Bridge slowly disappeared beneath the waves, swallowed by the rising Bering Strait. The people who'd crossed it were now cut off from Asia, stranded in the Americas, though to them, life went on as it always had, the icy paths giving way to new landscapes as the world transformed. Over thousands of years, their descendants kept moving, reaching the forests of what's now Canada, the deserts of the American Southwest, the jungles of Central America, and even the tip of South America. These early travelers became the ancestors of the indigenous peoples of the Americas, the Inuit, the Navajo, the Maya, the Inca, and countless others, each group adapting to their new homes, creating unique cultures, languages, and ways of life. As the ice melted and the seas rose, new rivers formed, and the land took on a fresh, vibrant look, the scars of the relentless cold fading into the promise of new growth. The descendants of those early migrants adapted once more, forming communities that would eventually grow into great civilizations. But how do we know this story is true? Scientists have pieced it together with fascinating clues. Archaeologists have unearthed stone tools in Siberia and Alaska that look nearly identical, spear points chipped in the same style, showing a clear connection between the two places. Then there's DNA evidence. Studies of modern Native Americans reveal genetic links to ancient Siberian populations, proving these hunters were the first Americans. Still, the story isn't fully settled. Some experts point to sites like Monte Verde in Chile, where signs of human life date back over 14,000 years, older than some estimate for the Bering Crossing, suggesting perhaps some early humans hugged coastlines in boats. For now though, the Bering Strait migration holds the strongest evidence. This journey from the frozen expanses of Siberia to the sunlit lands of the New World stretches the limits of imagination. Picture a young hunter standing on a windy hill in Beringia, scanning the horizon for his next meal, unaware that his footsteps would change the world. Those hunters weren't just wandering, they were starting something monumental, bringing humans to the Americas for the first time, and kicking off a story that would lead to incredible civilizations, from the pyramid builders of Mexico to the cliff dwellers of the Southwest. In the quiet of those long, frozen nights, the winds seemed to whisper tales of bravery and discovery, a saga of exploration, and the courage to step into the unknown, laying the first chapters of a new civilization.
Today, the Bering Strait is just a thin strip of water on a map, but once, it was a highway for adventure, tying two continents together. It's a reminder of how much our planet has shifted, and how humans have always found ways to keep moving, to explore, to survive. Their story, etched into the fabric of time, speaks to our restlessness, our adaptability, and our endless curiosity about what lies beyond the next hill. It's more than a tale of survival. It's a profound example of how nature and humanity intertwine, how the forces of the earth shape the destiny of its inhabitants. So next time you hear of the Ice Age or spot Alaska on a map, think of those Siberian hunters who, in their quite determined way, gave us the Americas. A gift born from a frozen world, a land bridge, and a hunt that never stopped. A legacy intertwined with a history written in ice and fire, struggle and hope.